Well. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. This is the second week that that Blog Talk Radio is having technical difficulties. I've got to find a way to play my introductory song without using Blog Talk Radio, because I mean that's my song, my theme song. You reality, spirituality. It's a new experience. Oh no, I'm gonna sing it. Reality, spirituality. I got some answers now. Okay. Yes, I'm definitely going to do that because this is the second week in a row. So I posted that you can call in on Blog Talk Radio area code 646-564-9619, but that ain't happening today. Okay, here we go. Thank you for listening. We are live on my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington, and we are also live on Noom Vibe. That's the app. Now, let me just give it. It throws me off when I don't have my theme song, but you know what? Let me regroup. Welcome to Reality Spirituality Radio. I am your host, Rebecca L. Norrington, global happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, oracle, but most importantly, a student. And what is my topic? My topic is the truth about happiness. And today it's going to be fire. Hey, hi. Hey, look at that. Dawn. So today we're going to talk about the truth about all of the reactions that are happening after the election. And it doesn't matter what side you're on. We're not talking about sides. We're talking about programming. So here we go. And seatbelts, I said seatbelts are not required, but definitely suggested. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think I'm a nice person, but I trigger I seem to trigger a lot of people all the time. But one of the things that I do know about being triggered, that it has nothing to do with the other person. It has nothing to do with the events. The triggering always comes from self. And so if I'm triggered, if my buttons are pushed, guess what? It's my responsibility to eliminate, to focus on, to put a light on those triggers. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And before we get into the topic, because it is going to be hot, I see that there's somebody that wants to join the stage on Noom Vibe. You can join the stage, but not for the next few minutes. I gotta get all this shit out. Did I say shit? I gotta get all this out. Little bit of background information. When I say happiness specialist, what does that mean? Happiness. It's impossible to be happy all the time. Well, let me be very clear. When I say happiness, I'm talking about a personal vibration, a personal energy of contentment, regardless of what happens, regardless of your circumstances. It doesn't matter what you are experiencing, including this election back and forth. And either you're great, you're happy that you won, or you're let's see, what word do I want to use? I want to use very dissatisfied that you lost. A little bit of housekeeping. I thank you for reminding me, Nikki. A little bit of housekeeping. I published a book this year in May 2024, and I'm holding it up. You can watch me live on YouTube if you're on Noom Vibe. I'm about to hold it up. It's called Programmed for Unhappiness: Exposing the Untold Truth. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes & Noble, Lulu. Hey, Jay, what's up? Jay and I have known each other for 15 years, maybe even longer than that. Anyway, this book explains so much. And when I program for unhappiness, that's what's going on here. All the reactions, my reactions, your reactions, anyone's reactions are When you attach a story as to why you're feeling a certain way, know that that's a program. Let me put this book down now. The other thing I wanted to mention, that if you haven't seen, on Saturday morning at 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, my son and I do a live show. It's called, now see, I had to change the title of the show because of the algorithm, but it's called, let's see, what happens when a mom and son, hold on, what happens when a mom and son make sense out of nonsense, plus more. But it's a spiritual show, a relationship a show between myself and my son. And if you ask me, I think it's pretty hot. But I'm a little bit biased. Let me get into a little bit of my background just very quickly, because I have a lot of new followers and not a lot of new listeners. Thank you for your suggestions, your questions, your emails, and also thank you for the insults. I don't take anything personally. And then I back that up with not reading any comments. Okay, when I talk about happiness, again, I said it is a personal energy of contentment. And the good news is it is a practiced skill. So what you practice is evident in your day-to-day moments. Also, when I talk about being programmed, I'm talking about all of the things that we learned, behaviors that we learned, behaviors, ideas, beliefs that we learned that are programs. And a really quick example right off the bat, worrying. In fact, with this topic, we're going to discuss future worrying, because that's future worrying. Number one, it's a program. Worrying is a program. And the only reason why people worry, it's not your fault. You were programmed to worry. You were taught to worry. You didn't pop out of the womb knowing how to worry. So that's number one. I got to stop looking at the comments because it throws me off, but that's okay. So you were programmed to worry. Number two, worrying indicates a lack of trust. You can't trust and worry at the same time. The other thing, number three, these program behaviors not only becomes habits, sometimes addictions. I remember I was responding to someone on Facebook, and she's called herself a worrying warrior. Isn't that great to be a warrior to worrying? No judgment here, just that this was her comment, and I gave her some suggestions. So this worrying, I'm going to say that the majority of people know that worrying doesn't do any good for the people they're worried about, the country they're worried about, themselves if they're worried. It absolutely adds no positive. I can't think of anything positive to say about worrying. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help. And in fact, if anything, I ain't a doctor, but worrying, stress, anxiety can also create physical problems. So why would anybody knowingly worry, purposely worry? Well, it's because of their program, and those programs run so deep. Certain programs run deeper than others, and certain programs are harder to eliminate, pull up, root up, than others. And I have my own, and I discussed last week that I had a deep seated program into the identifying with a party, identifying with a country, identifying with what's right and what's wrong, making a judgment. I mean, it was deep, deep, deep. And I'm not running around here saying that I got it mastered, but I definitely know when I believe that let me give a football example. Let me give you a football example. That's going to be neutral. I'm a football fan, and I was watching. I don't watch the whole. I don't sit there for 3 hours, but I tape everything. I tape all of the football games that I'm interested in watching. And yesterday I watched the game between Alabama and LSU, and the game was being played in LSU at not in, but at LSU, and LSU lost. Now, watching the fans when the home team, the home fans, when the home team is losing, if you haven't watched it, it's a whole, it's a whole. it- do I say entertaining? It's entertaining. It is because everyone is acting the same way. If their team doesn't win, they are depressed, sad. I mean, I watched people with their hands on their faces, head down in their hands, and just some people cry. The same type of reactions that are happening now as after the results of this election, regardless of what side. And in fact, the people that are upset, angry, stressed, the world is going to come to an end. It's the same as the other side. The people now that quote unquote won, happy, relieved, all of it. The actions, the reactions are coming from a program when you attach a story. It's the same for elections. It's the same for football games. And let me give you my solution. Listen to this one. This is crazy as hell. I tape the football games, and what I do when I'm sitting down to watch them, when I finally sit down to watch them, I go online and I find out who won. You see how backwards this is? I find out who won. Why? I haven't been able to master this energy of contentment and calm and not having a preference, which are all programs. Having a preference is a program. Attaching a story is a program. I haven't been able to master this calmness while I'm watching a game, especially when I have a preference. So I look at the score. Oh, my team won. I can watch a few minutes of that. Oh, my team lost. I don't watch it. And it's only because I haven't gotten to a level where preferences don't matter. And even more importantly than preferences, this fluctuating energy of feeling good because something happens and feeling bad, I, I don't feel any contentment when I'm going up and down and up and down. Now, I practice living in a state of neutrality without judgment. It's not easy to do, but when you prioritize commitment and you commit to, and you have a desire to vibrate an energy of contentment and peace, regardless of what goes on, you you will be able to experience more happiness regardless of what happens. Now, what I get, the feedback is, well, that's not normal. You're not feeling anything. Your head's in the sand. What good are you? In fact, I mean, I've been called names. I've been told that I have contributed zero to the planet, that I'm toxic. I was just called that last week in my class. Toxic happiness. Can you believe that? Toxic happiness. And it's all good because I practice not taking anything personally. But let's get to this. But before I do, let me give you my definition of happiness. This is my definition. Happiness is the ability to vibrate an energy of peace and contentment, regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. That's my definition. And we have a lot to unpack. First thing I would like everyone to do, get your mirrors out. Get your mirrors out, because all of the work, all of the practice is done in the mirror. My I was going to say my job. My job responsibility is to transcend me identifying with my ego. And when I say ego, some people use the term mind, critical mind, monkey mind. You know what I'm talking about? That voice that is saying the world is going to end. I mean, I've seen the videos. I've seen them all. I've seen people frantic, screaming, crying. I saw one guy pull his shirt off and he was just, people are just beside themselves because they voted for and they were expecting, which is a program, expecting Harris to win. You know what? I'm not even going to give names. I don't even need to give the names of the candidate. They were expecting a side to win. How about that? They were expecting a side to win. All expectations are a program. All expectations, every single one of them, without exception, subtract from happiness. All expectations are the one of the reasons, not all of the reasons, but just one of the reasons for disappointment. Disappointment, heartbreak because of expectations. Now, what I practice is not having expectations. And let me just say that in the book, Program for Unhappiness, and Program for Unhappiness, I list, so you can get these too. I list 55 program behaviors that subtract from happiness. 55. And the people that are upset, frantic, feeling lost, feeling hopeless, feeling that you know what I'm talking about. Those people had a lot of expectations. The other thing, and I'm going to throw that not only the people on that side had expectations, the people on the other side have expectations. So what I'm talking about is across the board. It's not about which side, because all of the stories on each side, every single story, number one, is not the truth. You cannot predict the future. The future is unfolding, but the ego wants the individual, number one, to identify with it, and the ego wants the individual to, yeah, this is true. And if you cannot come up with another perspective, I'll give you an example. One of the students in my class on Wednesday last week, she was distraught beyond belief. In fact, in class, she started crying. In fact, she's the one that said that I had toxic happiness. And I asked her, and I said, because she had all of these stories that she knew people were going to get hurt, people were going to get injured, lives are at stake, and that's for both sides. Let's say it's for both sides. I'm talking about both sides, not just one. That's how fair I am. She said to me that I asked her after she went through after she cried, and she was not, and she wasn't the only one, but she was the only one in class that was crying. And I said to her, can you share with me another perspective? Can you give me another perspective about the stories in your head that are not true? Not true. You cannot say what's going to happen in the future unless you say the sun is going to come up, the sun is going to keep shining, the moon is going to keep mooning, the animals are going to keep mating, but you cannot say what's going to happen in the future. But the attachment to a story is strong. And let me just go back just a little bit. I asked her if she could come up with another perspective. And she looked at me and she just shook her head and she said, no, I can't. There's only one perspective to see how all of this is going to play out. There's only one. It's my perspective. And who is authoring? Who is the author of her perspective? One of my favorite teachers, only because it's just very simple. The question, it's Byron Katie, Bryonkatie, Katie. She asked the 4 questions. You know what? I gave her the piece of paper. I don't have it memorized, but you can Google it. Byron Katie, the work. The 4 questions, the first 2 questions that you ask yourself about the story in your head is, number 1, how do you know that it's true? Number 2, can you be sure that you know that it's the truth? And usually that second question causes a pause. The programming is deep here. If you can only come up with one perspective, and that's on both sides, if you can only come up with one perspective, you know that you are identifying with the ego. You also know, and another thing that I shared with her, the student that said I was toxic happiness, I said, all of us are emitting an energy, a vibration. That is our contribution to the planet. And if you are fearful, angry, anxious, worried, that is what you are contributing to the planet. And this particular student is one of these people that it calls the earth, Mother Earth. There are people that really get into, I'm just explaining, really get into loving the earth, loving the environment, and nothing wrong with it. But if you say you love this planet, then your energy, I can't use that word, then your energy is your contribution to the planet. I practice at every waking minute, contributing contentment, contributing trust, contributing surrendering to whatever is happening in the moment. Now, you either believe that God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, has a divine plan, or you don't, which is, that's okay too. I say that even this country, the earth, all countries, all people have a destiny that they're going to be living out. A destiny. And being programmed, it is very difficult to transcend this place that keeps you stuck here, keeps you in the loop, keeps you thinking the same things with the same doom and gloom, or the same optimism. Both sides. I'm not picking or choosing either one. Let me look at my notes real quick. Let me give you another example. And I've said it before, but I'm going to throw this in. Will Smith was interviewed in GQ magazine in November 2021, before the famous slap heard around the world. And he said, I have everything: money, connections, fame, family, but I'm not happy. Now, that was evident. You cannot be happy, you cannot be content and walk on stage and slap somebody. It has nothing to do with anything external. And he said that in past interviews also. He went on a search for happiness, and all of it comes from within. This winning and losing and believing that if you win, you're going to feel great. I guarantee you that even the people that quote unquote won because of what they believe to be true, are if they buy into the story, they are still going to, I mean, this, it's like winning the Super Bowl. It's like winning the Super Bowl or winning the World Series. Shout out to the Dodgers. I wasn't rooting for them. Did I say that out loud? Even winning the World Series, winning anything, that glow, all of that, yay, all of that excitement, that ecstasy is going to fall off. You're not going to feel like that all the time. So the attaching a story to how you're feeling, and this is a big story. The present, according to the world, this is a big story. The president of the United States, that's a big story. When you attach a story to why you're feeling a certain way, just get ready to stay on that roller coaster. The feelings don't come from anything external. The feelings just come because you are human and it's time to feel. And that goes from the feeling of elation to the feeling of, oh, not the opposite of elation. I got caught up. I caught it 24 hours. Yesterday, I received some news and I said, oh, that's great. I could feel my body feeling good about this news that I received. Oh, that's so good because of this, the news. Yeah, that's great. And then this morning I said, that's not why you felt good in that moment. You felt good in that moment because it was time. But attaching a story as to why, I'm telling you, these thoughts and stories are the reasons for the suffering. And their future thoughts and future stories. The program behaviors that subtract from your happiness, number one, blaming anyone or any circumstances for how you feel. You are feeling whatever you feel because it's time to feel it. No judgment, no reason other than it's time. Just like the birds, they mate in the spring. They don't mate in the fall because it's time to mate in the spring. And when I was living in Oregon, I mean, it was nothing more evident than, oh, by the way, if you're listening to me on Noom Vibe, the you can also watch me live on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington. I had technical difficulties. You can't call in today. Isn't that something? The Blog Talk Radio, for the second week in a row, you can't call in. Let's go back to blaming. That's a program. So the blame, trying to control anything outside of yourself. Do you have control over what happens in an election? Do you have control over anything external? And you know what? This is something I learned, believe it or not, at 68 years old, 2 weeks to be 69. But don't tell anybody. I learned, and I know it sounds crazy, but we're always learning. I learned for sure that the popular vote has nothing to do with who wins the election. And I was reminded of this. I mean, I remember when Gore, I think Gore was the the Gore was running and Bush was running. And I remember, Gore getting the popular vote, but not winning the election. And I do remember a big brouhaha because of that. And just coincidentally, this election, the popular vote was, one of the candidates won the popular vote and the electoral vote. But I didn't, I know some people who don't vote, or they write their name. I know two people who wrote their name. Actually, one of them wrote Donald Duck, wrote their name on the ballot, wrote Donald Duck and wrote a name on the ballot. Because it's not about the popular vote, it's about the electoral vote. And that's all I know. So, all of you political people, don't jump on me for not knowing more than that. the 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 point is, who has control over any of it? What I have control over is choose to what I choose to hold on a second. Let me get this. I'm getting two things in my head at the same time. Is what I choose to prioritize. Now, the people that are upset are not choosing to prioritize happiness, are not choosing to prioritize contentment, are not choosing to prioritizing trusting that everything is in order. That's that. No, in fact, I don't want to be happy. In fact, this happiness, no, it's low on the list. If it's not even on the list, nothing. I'm not making a judgment. I'm just describing. It's not even on the list. Again, let's go back to worrying. On both sides, the worry of what is going to happen in the future if A, B, or C is president, or the other side, A, B, or C is president. The worry. So that means, okay, here we go. This is where you put your seatbelts on if you haven't buckled up already. And I like you, even though I haven't met you. You only know what you're identifying with, what entity you're identifying with when you're challenged. It's easy to feel good. It's easy to feel good when the sun is shining and your team has won and you're going to the Super Bowl or you're going to the series or you're going to the championship. It's easy to or you won. It's easy to feel good when that happens. But what happens when you're challenged? That's who you are when you're challenged. You're challenged by election results. You're challenged by a team winning or losing. And this winning or losing thing, I get it if you're an athlete, you have the competition in there. And I'm competitive too, because I'm a fitness instructor, and nobody could do as many sit-ups as I could when I was in my prime. Just let me get back to my fighting state. Nobody could do as many as, did I say push-ups? I meant sit-ups, not push-ups. I can't do a lot of push-ups, but definitely I was a sit-up queen. In fact, let me just lighten it up just for a second. When in the 80s, was it 80s? Yeah, late 80s. Do you remember MC Hammer? Too legit to quit. Too legit to quit. You see how you lighten it up? Too legit to quit. I remember I was teaching an aerobic class, and MC Hammer came in with his entourage. Yeah, this was in the 80s. I think it was in the 80s or 90s. And he came in with his entourage, and this one gentleman walked into my class, and he was muscles on top of muscles, muscle bound. And especially when I was younger, I just love to be stronger or outlasting the guys, especially the ones with all the muscles, because it's just little old me. So he came into my class and we had finished the cardio. He just came in for the floor work, and I was doing dips. If you exercise, dips are exercises for your triceps, the back of the arm, so your arms aren't flapping. He came in and we were doing dips, and I just had this routine that was really hard. We did repetition, we stopped, we held it up and down, hold it, up and down, up, down. I mean, it was brutal. And this gentleman with all these muscles, he couldn't keep up with me. And I have to say, it gave my ego a little, scratch that, not a little, a lot of pleasure. Then we started doing sit-ups. And of course, I was really good at that too. And I was doing crunches and leg lifts and ankle weights. I mean, I was just 6-pack. I had an 8-pack. Not anymore. I think I have 1 pack left. I digress. And so, of course, I'm being the type of person I am, competitive. I said, "Oh, all those muscles that you have, what good are they? They're not doing you any good now. Come on, you can't do one more." I mean, it was really it was really me back in the day. And I kept going on and on. This poor gentleman with all the muscles stacked on top of each other got up and left. And one of my students said, "Do you know who that was?" I said, "No." "Who was it?" "Evander Holyfield." I can't wait to meet him again. True story. My point is, what was my point? My point was just to lighten it up. The other thing about, let's get back to the topic about, hold on a second, let me click onto this. Again, if you're watching me live on YouTube, it's the Rebecca Norrington YouTube channel. And the truth about the reactions to this election result. I guarantee that every single one of people that are on the side that quote unquote lost, if we're going to say win or lost, number one, they had attachments to an outcome. Number two, there is a need to be right. That's a program. Needing to be right is a program. And nobody was more programmed to need to be right than me. And with this talk, I'm not saying that I am right. I'm just offering you a different perspective to digest. Every person on the side that didn't go their way, I'm just going to say that the world says lost, every single one of them blame, complain, talk negatively, watch, listen, soak up the morning, afternoon, and nightly news. They worry, they have fear, they're critical of others. Who's looking in the mirror these days? They need to be right. This may sting. There is a lack of growth and introspection. Did I say that? A lack of growth and introspection. In fact, people on the side that quote unquote lost, now they're fighting amongst themselves, blaming. Remember, that's a big one, blame. They're fighting amongst themselves. I'm not making a judgment, I'm only describing. Another program. Here we go. This is a tough one. Wanting other people to think what you think is important is important. Wanting other people to think what you think is important is important. That's a program. All expectations, living in the past, living in the futures, living in the future. Lack of acceptance, lack of trust, having an agenda. Oh, this is a tough one. Having hate, disdain, or dislike for a group, for a group or yourself. Because when you have hate, disdain, dislike, it has nothing to do with that, with what you think it is. It is all coming from within. No, I didn't say that. She didn't say that, did she? Whatever you point your finger at, disdain, hate, and dislike, that's all you. That's who you are. Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared. Does anybody know where I live? I'm going to have to move after the show. I'm going to start packing after the show. Having an agenda. having a sense of urgency. You know, that sense of urgency, that urgency that something has to change and something has to change now. Getting triggered. The people that I saw online triggered, there could be another word for triggered. Mega triggered, triple triggered. The triggering has nothing to do with what happens. It is an internal game. Who wants to hear, oh, it's you. It's not what's out there. But I'll tell you this, I spend 100% of the time looking in the mirror because I know that it's not out there. It's within. Here we go. Now we're getting to level 3 of program behaviors. Number, and I'm not going to put a number to it. Thinking anything is serious. Thinking anything is important. That's a big one. And if you're listening on Noom Vibe, you can, let's see. If you're listening on Noom Vibe, you can also watch live on YouTube. And you know what? I'm losing people listening already. But it doesn't matter, because what I'm telling you is it's not you, it's your program that is causing the suffering. It's a difficult concept to get, but it is the truth. If a 1-year-old or 2-year-old is sitting in their playpen, and I let them know who won or who lost, there's no reaction. The reaction comes from the program, and you are either reacting to life or responding. The other thing, being rigid. This is a tough one. The rigidity meaning I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to think that there are more possibilities than the way that I'm currently thinking. Who's going to break in a windstorm? The oak tree or the willow tree? And the practice is to remain open. To remain open and to trust that everything is in order. There is nothing in nature that is out of order. And that includes this planet. You know how many wars, do you know how many empires have been destroyed throughout the world's creation? I don't know, hundreds. And this is just part of being incarnated on this planet. That's just part of the experience. That's part of reality, that here we all are at the same time. Reincarnated with everybody that we see. And each experience, I'm going to speak for myself, each experience teaches me. It teaches me how to discern the difference between who I'm identifying with in any moment. I'm either identifying with my humanness or my godliness. Now I know I get a lot of pushback with I get a lot of pushback with identifying with God, but I believe that the universe, God, source, whatever term you want to use, is having an experience through me. And quite frankly, has a great sense of humor too. I mean, getting back to thinking this is serious and thinking this is important, both of those are judgments. How about just experiencing this life without putting a judgment on it, without attaching a judgment to it? Resisting the present moment. All I see is a lot of resistance. And when you resist, you cannot flow and still resist. You are either flowing or you're resisting. Which one do you think is going to bring more contentment, more peace, and more happiness. The resistance, I mean, you see the resistance. You can't tell me that people that are so upset feeling contentment. No, but it's not their fault. They're programmed. Having preferences. Also, this present moment is the practice of living in the present moment. If I could say the top three, what to do, what are the top three? Live in the present moment, trust, live in the present moment, trust. I'm trying to think of a good third one, because there's more than just three. In fact, I have 26 that I list in the book, Program for Unhappiness. Let's see what's a good one. Live in the present moment, trust. And this is the third one. Here we go. Let go of the belief in the stories that they're true. The stories are not true. They're not the truth. Let's get back to the list. So that is one on the list. Believing the endless thoughts and stories that ruminate inside your head. Who is the author of those stories? Who is telling you? And then the answer is, it's me. I'm thinking that it's doing. It's me. No, you're not your thoughts. You're not your stories. Last week, someone sent me a video. Yeah, I shared this too, Nikki, with you. Sent me a video of this gentleman. I don't even know who he is, but he asked this question. And then let's do this exercise together. He asked this question. He said, and this is just a fun exercise. He said, think about what type of phone that you have. Now, don't say it out loud. Just think about the type of phone that you have. Okay, close your thing. I have. Don't say it out loud. Just think. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then he said, answer the question out loud. What kind of phone do you have? iPhone. And then he asked the question, which one are you? And the answer is neither. Or if I'm incorrect, neither. Neither, tomato. Let's all go home. So you're neither. You're not the one. You're not the thinker, and you're not the one that spoke. You are more than that. You are presence. You are spirit having a human experience. You're not the thoughts. You're not the one talking. You are at another level. You are an experiencer. Is that a word? You are if not, I'm putting it in the dictionary. You are an experience. You are here to experience without judgment. There is an addiction to fear. There is an addiction to needing to be right. There is an addiction to worrying. There is an addiction to future worrying. There is an addiction to having expectations. There is an addiction to thinking that you are right. And again, I'm just up here sharing a different perspective. I'm not telling you I'm right. I'm sharing a different perspective that has brought me more contentment, has brought, after 45 years of practicing, again, happiness, contentment, inner peace. Practice is a practice. And the enlightenment comes from knowing who you really are. And this is a quick journey. You're going to blink and it's going to be over. Quick. It's over. So what do you practice along the journey? One of my favorite quotes from Abraham is, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. So if you want, and scratch that, if you want to continue living on a roller coaster with emotions going up and down and thoughts and doom and gloom back and forth, hey, do you, boo? It's not, doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't. And I say anymore because I used to be a bitch on wheels, my way or the highway. Yeah, I didn't wake up like this. Well, today I did. And the reason why I have a jacket on and a fur headband around my hair is because it's 63 degrees in this house. She likes it cold. It's freezing in here. I mean, I could turn on the heater, but why? I'll just put on extra clothes. Anyway, the other thing, let me throw this in now that I'm laughing. Anytime I am 5 seconds away from laughter, I don't care what's going on. I don't care when my ego has me in this in its grips in the middle of the storm. I can snap out of it in 5 seconds laughing. So if you really are interested in contributing to this planet with the energy of contentment, with the energy of peace, and you want to feel and you want to and happiness, that's your contribution. Be ready to laugh, be ready to dance, be ready to sing. Laughing is one of my favorites. I mean, I do sing, but it's not like laughing. Laughing is medicine. Laughing lightens, you can feel your energy shifting when you really have a good laugh. And I'm talking about a laugh so hard that you pee on yourself, that kind of laughter. And put that on your list of things to do every day. I get the whole list. Being productive. I was talking to somebody on the phone. It was early in the morning. And I said, "Are you still in bed?" And she said, "Yeah." And she says, "Yeah, I'm not being very productive." I said, "No, that's another program. Who said it's not productive laying in bed, relaxing, stretching, and feeling, I don't feel like getting up? Who said that's not productive? I'm sitting in a rocking chair looking at the sunrise. That's productive. If I'm staring at a wall, a blank wall, guess what? That's what I feel inspired to do. That's productive. Who defines what productive is? Be very mindful of all these programs of success, productivity. And I'm not poo-pooing any of that, but just be mindful of what the ego will trick you into thinking it's better to be productive and be productive the way the program world says to be productive. It's productive just walking on a hike, going outside, deep breath in, deep breath out. That could be able productive. So the programming is deep, and the programming is the reason for the suffering. Let me just check my notes here. Resisting, yes. You are either reacting to life or responding to life in every moment. Reacting or responding. Let me just share. Let me share something. This happened just this morning. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I had 2 hours because I woke up early today, and it's 9:00. The show starts at 9:00 Pacific Standard Time every Sunday, and Saturday I do a live show with my son at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense plus more. And so I had 2 hours. I never come up with the topic of the show until the day of. Even yesterday, I didn't know what the topic was going to be until this morning. So I had the topic in my head. Oh yeah, let's talk about the reaction to the election results. And I said, you know what, Rebecca, why don't you? I had 2 hours, and every single time, it hasn't failed me yet in 15 years. Well, scratch that. I'm not going to say every single time, but the majority of the time, and it happened today, 15 minutes before the show, 10 minutes before the show, Even my son, even the show I do with my son at 9:15, I'm rushing around here like I didn't have enough time. I'm rushing. And before also rushing tracks from happiness, and rush is another program. And also, I'm rushing and I'm saying, what? You're doing it again. Because the rushing doesn't feel good, does it? The rushing causes a lot of anxiety. And so, I mean, I'm up here typing the title, signing on to Noon Vibe. In fact, I was late today, first time ever, 2 minutes late to start the show. I'm such a diva. 2 minutes late. And it's got that rushing energy. And I said, but I'm speaking for myself. If I'm rushing every single time, number one, you know what I'm doing? I'm in the drama. I'm causing self-imposed drama. Can I feel at peace and content while I'm rushing? Well, you know what I'm talking about. And if I'm still rushing at 68 years old, 2 weeks 69, 68 years old, guess what? I'm getting something out of rushing. It's serving me in some way that I really, how about this? Serving, feeding, fueling my ego. It doesn't feel good to rush, but here I am rushing. I had 2 hours. It happened the same way yesterday. So caught into this rushing loop before the show starts. What kind of is that? I'm not going to make any judgments, and I'm not going to criticize myself. But what I am going to do is observe and witness my behavior. I'm going to observe and witness that, and know that it's still that program hasn't been rooted out yet. That program is still there. You see the difference? It's the awareness. The awareness is the work. Your awareness is the work. Your living consciously is the work. Not, oh, I mastered something. Living consciously is the work. How many people are living consciously and aware? How many have self-awareness? Not a lot. Not judging, just describing. Here we go. I hope your seatbelts are still attached. Giving power to words. That's a big one. Thinking that words can make you feel any type of way. Happy, sad, appreciated. Oh, thank you. I don't need thanks. I don't need appreciation from humans. I don't need none of it. In fact, the practice has been gone on for so long. The compliments, thank you. The insults, thank you. I'm like Teflon Don, not that Don, just Teflon. What was it? Who would they call? What was it? It was a gangster, Don Capote. Don. No, that's Al Capone. Anyway, Teflon. I should have Teflon Don. Don. Teflon Don. Not Dawn, D-O-N, D-A-W-N. Teflon Don. That's who I am. It slides right out. I got a compliment this morning in a text. Compliment this morning. Okay. But see, the practice is if I can be moved by a compliment, I can also be moved by an insult. And getting to the point where I know who I am, and without any wavering, you can't compliment me and you can't insult me. Not anymore. It is a practice. Okay. Oh, this is a big one. This is a big one. Oh, seatbelts again. Tighten them up. Believing that life is unjust and unfair. What? That's another program. Believing that life is unjust and unfair. Life, that's a judgment. Life is just life. Look at the animal kingdom. I've used this example more than once. It's one of my favorites. When the mommy and the daddy penguin have more than one baby penguin, have more than one baby penguin, and when they have two, they choose the biggest and the strongest to live, to feed. They don't feed the little weak little baby penguin. Poor little penguin becomes polar bear food. Is that unjust? Is that unfair? It just is. This believing that something is unjust and unfair is another program, deep rooted. No, it's unfair. It just is. If you prioritize, if contentment is important, is a priority. I mean, I already know, the world this is unfair. This is unjust. And I'm here to tell you, oh, this is horrible. I don't even want to say it. I have enough people that have defriended me. There's no such thing. It just that unjust and unfair is a judgment. And you know that's true. Let's recap. Both sides, same thing. Both sides, not just one side. If you have a reaction, whether it is you feel good about the results, or you don't feel, or you feel horrible about the results, and you feel fearful about the results, this is for you. The program of blaming, the program of complaining, the program of being negative, the programming of lack of trust, the programming of taking this personally, complaining, taking it personally, worrying, future worry, future fear, the inability to be open to more than one perspective, the needing to be right, believing that there are mistakes. There's no mistakes in nature. Noticing what someone else is doing, focusing on what someone or a group is doing, wanting people to think what you think is important. I can't believe it's over an hour already. Wanting people to believe that what you think important is important. Having expectations, attachments to an outcome, attachments to a story, living in the past, living in the future, making a judgment, allowing your ego to take over and identifying with what's going on, lack of acceptance. This is God's plan. This is a universe's plan. God, you're wrong. And let me tell you why. Having an agenda, having hate, disdain, dislike for anyone else or any group is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. Getting triggered, thinking anything is serious, thinking anything is important, having a preference, resisting the present moment, believing the thoughts and stories are true, assigning a label to any experience, believing that life is unjust and unfair. Every one of us, myself, you, we are all living out our personal journeys are unfolding every day, every moment. My journey is going to be different than your journey. If I'm experiencing something in my life, it's there for a reason. If you are experiencing something in your life, it's there for a reason. I know. That's a tough one. I know. This is it. There is a purpose to all of it. And I say the purpose is to transcend the programming. The purpose is to practice not identifying with this thing, which is the ego or the mind. You're not your mind. You're not your stories. You're not your thoughts. Let's leave it on a lighter note. What can either side practice? Either side, not just one side, either side. Number one, desiring and wanting to experience more peace, more contentment on this journey. Prioritizing happiness. Now, I get this. I can't help it. I'm compelled. Somebody has to stand up. Somebody has to say something. I'm not talking about anybody that's getting harmed or hurt. I'm talking about just everyday life. Recognizing this is a practice. Recognizing the difference between your unconscious ego and your self and your presence, your godliness, your awareness, your spirit, your soul. You know, it's interesting. Or let's go back to, you know, you've seen it a lot if you watch any sports, and sometimes the athletes are interviewed after they win, and or even an award show. I've even heard people say, "Thank God, you know, I won this award, or I won the game." God doesn't have a team. God's not rooting for the Bengals. God's not rooting for an Academy Award. So I get it, but it's just not, this universe is neutral. Neutral. That's why the practice is to live in a state of neutrality. Detach from people, detach from outcomes, detach from thinking you know, and who is the you you're talking about? You know what's best or what's right for you. Here we go. This is a tough one. Being okay with uncertainty, being at peace with uncertainty. One of the biggest programs that subtract from your happiness and your contentment is not trusting and being okay and being at peace with uncertainty. Choosing a perspective, choosing your perspective, choosing your focus. People that are choosing, in fact, you know, I'm not even going to say that they're choosing, because can a robot choose? When a robot is programmed, do they really have a choice? When the robot is programmed, what choices does a robot have other than to act out their programming? And that's what I see. And that's why there's no judgment here. Stay out of everybody else's business. Let's take more trips to the mirror. Stay out of everyone else's business. Witness more, identify less. Practice eliminating those programmed behaviors. Practice patience. Celebrate your growth. When you transcend, you know, you know, remember, wow, I remember when that was really important to me, but now I could care less. That doesn't have to come with age. That could come at any time. Having a desire and a wanting to let go of all of these earthly programs is a start, and acceptance. Trust that nothing is ever left undone. Know the truth about your identity. Without exception, your inner peace, your contentment, and happiness is not dependent on external circumstances. Your happiness is dependent on what you consciously practice in in any moment. It's not about who won or who lost. It's about who you are when you're challenged. What do you demonstrate when you're challenged? What do you contribute to the world when you're challenged? Only you can answer that. You can fight for a cause. You can continue to you can continue to take action, but that extra energy behind it, that anger, that the fervor of hate, you don't have to do that. But if you're programmed, you probably are. Whew. And I'm going to close with this. I cannot believe this time. It feels like 5 minutes. Maybe not for you, me. One of the things that I had to learn, and I learned it just a couple of years ago, that everybody isn't interested in being happy. Everyone isn't interested in this energy of contentment. Everybody isn't interested in prioritizing inner peace. Everybody isn't. And I got that lesson from watching a really bad movie called Con Air. And Nicolas Cage, he was one of the characters in the movie, was talking about this man who was a murderer, and he says, why is he so angry? And the answer was, he's so filled with anger that moments of levity actually cause him pain, give him headaches. Happiness for that gentleman hurts. And I understand that. This message isn't for everyone. Some people, happiness hurts, and it's not important. And there ain't nothing wrong with it, unless you're prioritizing contentment. Well, that's the end of today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality Radio is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. And now Reality Spirituality is also live on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington. Follow me on Twitter at RL Norrington, LinkedIn, and LinkedIn. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. My YouTube channel is Rebecca Norrington. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. My latest book, and in fact, if you are serious about practicing what to eliminate and what to practice, again, in this book, Program for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth, I list 56 behaviors that are the cause of unhappiness and contentment. And discontent. You know what? Let me say something. The world sells dissatisfaction. Sells dissatisfaction. And I ain't a customer. Next week, my audience, I just because the show is heard every week, but until next time, I would like you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. Your conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself by accepting yourself in every moment. Be your own best friend. Acceptance is key. And what are you prioritizing? What are you contributing to the planet? The Mother Earth. What are you contributing? Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. And if you Google the five most common regrets of the dying, Google the 5 most common regrets of the dying. The 5th regret is, I wish I would have let myself be happier. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, global happiness specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. Remember, happiness, contentment, inner peace are all practice skills. And I promise you that the more you practice, the more peace you're going to find. What do you practice? You practice eliminating the programs. Your experience in every moment reflects on what you practice. Have a conscious week. I don't have my theme song. Have a conscious week. Thank you for listening.